Truth Untold, written and read by Miriam. Blue eyes. Every morning Dean woke up, the first thing that came into his mind were those goddamn beautiful, ocean-like blue eyes. Dean opened his own eyes slowly, his head pounding from probably too much alcohol the night before. Groaning, he sat a moment on his bed, reminiscing on what those blue eyes meant to him, who they belonged to. Cass, angel of the Lord, Castiel. Since Dean realized about what he might feel about the angel, he tried to oppress it in every possible way. Most of his nights consisted of him going to bars, either for mindless hookup or to drown his feelings into alcohol. Groaning again due to his growing headache, he put his head into his hands. His mind went back to the first time he met Cass and when he learned angels in heaven are real. All the things that have happened to Sam and him, his mother burning to death, his father giving up everything for his revenge on said death, the way Dean and Sam grew up traveling from one motel to the next, knowing from a very young age that there were things, monsters, supernatural creatures, demons. It became his life, hunting things, saving people, the family business, as he liked to call it. The revelation that there might be a heaven and angels and a God who existed but obviously didn't care wasn't as comforting as he thought. Back then, he didn't know that angels weren't any better than other supernatural creatures, that they didn't give a freaking damn about humanity or anything but themselves. But Cass, he was different. He cared so much, almost too much. Then his mind jumped to another moment when Cass was forced out of his vessel, Jimmy Novak. When he returned, he was so cold, as if someone messed with his head. He would never admit it, but his heart broke a little when the otherwise curious and empathic eyes went dull and cold, almost ice cold. When he then said, "I serve heaven, I don't serve men, and I certainly don't serve you," Dean felt so, he couldn't even describe it, empty in a way, or was it hurt? Then his mind jumped to all the moments Cass was so sincere, so compassionate with him. Like all that mattered to him was Dean. All the moments of anticipation when he thought they might kiss every moment, but it never happened. He knew Cass for quite some time now, and what started as a friendship began to feel more and more like goddamn Dean knew he was screwed. He even tried to forget about Cass when he went for the normal apple pie life with Lisa and her son Ben. Even though he cared very deeply for Lisa, it didn't come close to what he felt for Cass. Worst thing, there seemed to be a codex that angels weren't allowed to have feelings. Because feelings, well, they could develop into doubts, and heaven was built on angels having faith without questions, without free will. Dean stood up. There was no use in going the memory lane up and down. He might need to start the day off with a beer. Alcohol always seemed to help to repress whatever he was feeling for Cass. He went out of his room to the kitchen, a room he had in the bunker Sam he owned for being men of letters legacies. He was about to get another beer out of the fridge when he heard an all-too-known voice saying, "Hello, Dean," which was quickly followed by a worried sounding, "Are you alright?" He turned around way too fast for his liking. Sure, all he thought about was that freaking angel, but hell would he do? Show it. He couldn't handle the all-too-possible rejection. After some moments he cleared his throat and tried to say as nonchalantly as possible and with a fake smile, "Hey, Cass, yeah, sure, everything's peachy. How about you, buddy?" Instead of an answer, he felt a warm and comforting hand on the shoulder. When he leaned into the touch, Cass seemed to have noticed it and removed his hand from his shoulder, causing Dean to miss the warmth, almost like he craved for it. He then heard Cass' voice again. "Dean, you don't look alright. I can understand when after what happened last night." He trailed off again, lowering his gaze. Oh, right. How could he forget about last night, when he thought Cass might reciprocate his feelings, and when they stood so closely that Dean could feel the breath of Cass on his lips. Dean couldn't think straight. Hell, all he could think of was Cass standing so close to him, Cass' breath on his lips. How all he needed to do was lean in a bit further but yeah, that never happened. Because before Dean could lean in, he heard the all-too-familiar flutter of wings, and Cass disappeared. Dean felt how his frustration and anger bubbled up again. It must have been evident on his face, because he heard Cass shifting uncomfortably in his chair and fidgeting with his hands while speaking up again. "I'm sorry, Dean. I shouldn't have. It was just. I didn't intend to make you feel uncomfortable. I shouldn't have." His voice broke, but he seemed to be determined, because he looked Dean straight into the eyes and said, "I don't think you have any idea how much you mean to me, Dean. How since I raised you from perdition, your selflessness and eagerness to save people, it made me care about Sam, about the ones we saved together, about the whole world. Getting to know you better, I started to feel things I have never felt before. But Dean couldn't let him finish. He leaned forward and finally closed the gap and kissed his angel.